I had to go downtown recently to file some paperwork. I could have done it online, but I wanted to make sure that it was filed correctly. I thought maybe I could have filed it online, but I called just to make sure, and I kept getting different answers from different people that worked there. Besides, I had the afternoon off, and they have a pretty nice area behind the city office. After I finished filing, I was wandering around downtown and I saw this guy playing guitar on the street. He was sitting with his back up against the wall and he had his guitar case open next to him. But the thing that I noticed was he had a fairly large crowd around him. In fact, I saw the crowd before I heard the sound of his music. When I showed up, the first thing I saw was a big sign that said, "No cameras, no video recording, no audio recording." The next thing I noticed was he had a huge pile of money inside his guitar case. He had $1 bills, $5 bills, a couple of $10 bills, and I even saw 1 or 2 $20 bills in there. He must have had at least $100, $200, and this was on a late Tuesday morning. The next thing I noticed after I noticed all of his money was how well he played and how well he sang. He sang a couple of songs that I've heard, even the original artists that can't sing as well as they do in the studio. They have a few of the really high notes that they can only hit inside the studio, but they can't hit when they perform live. But this guy was hitting all those high notes and he was holding them perfectly. The longer I stayed, though, I realized that he was playing requests, not just some requests. He would play any request that anyone asked. And a few times they would ask for a song, and he would say, "I don't know that song." But then they would whistle a couple of parts of the melody, or they would sing a couple of parts of the lyrics, and he would stop and he would think, "Oh, yeah, that song." And then he would play it perfectly, the lyrics perfectly, the music perfectly, the chord progression perfectly. He would know all the lyrics, and he would sing the lyrics perfectly. It was amazing. So naturally, I wanted to find out how he learned how to do this. I've never seen even a professional musician play with such accuracy and such spontaneity. It turns out that he used to be a student of business, and he was about halfway through his MBA program, and he was going down to South America with a bunch of other students to participate in some type of economic advisory group. There was some small village that was thinking about setting up some kind of hydroelectric power station. And he was part of the group that was going to help advise them about the economic implications. There's a lot of other student groups going down there from a lot of other universities. I don't really remember the exact details. But as soon as he got down there, he ditched the project and he went off trekking by himself through the jungle. He ended up at this really small village that was completely cut off from all modern civilization. They were kind of a mix of farming and hunting and foraging, and he ended up staying for a week or two. He's not really sure, with 3 or 4 families that all lived in this one big hut. One of the old guys would give him these leaves after dinner every night. Only after dinner, but after he ate the leaves, before he went to sleep, he would kind of drift off into this half dream, half waking, half kind of psychedelic trip every night. And he thinks during those 2 weeks he went hunting a couple of times with these poison blow darts. But while he was having those visions, while he was having those dreams, he thinks that maybe some spirits came and talked to him, but he's not really sure. And he kind of remembers them speaking to him in English because he doesn't speak the language. And so he's not really sure if it was actually spirits coming to him during his dreams or if this was all some kind of hallucination. But when he came back, he realized that he couldn't stand to be around technology. He couldn't stand to be around very large crowds. And so he decided to learn guitar. And he had tried to study music when he was much younger, but he said it was always frustrating. But learning music after that experience was very, very easy. He said he taught himself everything he needed to know in 1 year without any kind of instruction. He just bought a used guitar and started playing around. And after a year of playing around, he could play perfectly. He could sing perfectly. The funny thing is he knows how to play every song that he's ever heard before. All he has to do is find the memory in his brain of the first time he heard a song, and he can play it perfectly. He said it's not really like him playing. He feels like once he finds that memory in his mind, it's like a portal opens up and there's some kind of energy streaming into his body through his brain. And the energy belongs to him. He said the energy feels like his energy, but it's coming from some other part. and it flows through his brain, through his body. And once that energy is flowing through him, he knows how to play that song perfectly, as if he remembers it perfectly. And it's all triggered by a stray memory of a song he could have heard 10, 15, 20 years ago. And so that's what he does for a living now. He just travels around. He finds a place to sit up against a wall on a street. He plays music, and as soon as people ask him to play requests, he looks in his brain. He finds a memory of that song, and he plays that song perfectly, and he gets a couple $1,000s a week in tips, and he just keeps traveling around, and that's what he does now. He said he's tried to play on stage and he's tried to go into a studio, but anytime he gets near any type of electrical device, especially recording devices, it just completely frazzles his brain and his gift doesn't work. His gift only works if he's outside and he's not near any kind of electricity or electrical devices. That's why he has that big sign that says no recording devices. But the main reason I go downtown is because behind the city office, they have this one small side street where they have a lot of these street vendors. And one of the street vendors sells the most delicious carne asada tacos I've ever eaten. They make their own corn tortillas, and I'm not sure what they do to the meat, but it's absolutely delicious. It's the only place in town where they have street vendors. I think it's really, really hard to get a license. And to get a license, you can only operate behind City Hall, and you have to maybe know somebody that's in City Hall. I don't know what the real reason is, but all I know is they have the most delicious carne asada corn tortilla tacos I've ever eaten.